Love is a funny thing, and to a couple in crisis due to infidelity or addiction, it can also be a very confusing thing. In our culture, love is most frequently portrayed as an overwhelming feeling of affection and desire for another. But in fairy tales and in fantasy land, it's this magical force thrusting us into what we hope will be happily ever after. Many of us resonate with this theme, and we long for our chance to experience that thing that we call true love and its seemingly never-ending passion. This desire reveals a desperate need for us to be loved, and to feel wanted. The problem, however, is that this fairy tale theme of love exists really only in movies and in children's books, and I suppose in Harlequin romance novels too, and in the initial stages of a budding relationship. Thus, the fledgling feelings are never sustained in a lifetime of marriage. They come and they go. You know that if you've been married for any length of time. You never see in a Disney film this portrayal of this type of love in couples struggling with financial disaster or rebellious teenagers, and then the mundane struggles of when the infatuation has disappeared and real life has arrived on the scene in full scale. And in fact, the exact opposite is far more likely to be depicted. Individuals wrestling with the question of whether to stay or go are the standard fare for stories of those who are married, wondering if the grass is greener somewhere else. Even less likely to appear in the Magic Kingdom is a couple suffering from a spouse's addiction to pornography or even to illicit one-night stands. It's certainly not warm and fuzzy, and it really, truly doesn't attract the masses. It's just a mature truth that we hopefully arrive at before becoming too much of a human wrecking ball. I know from personal experience, however, that many times we become that wrecking ball and we create this incredible amount of destruction before we realize how deceived and how dangerous we have become. Our confusion is certainly understandable though. If I had a $100 bill in one hand and a counterfeit in the other and offered them to you, which do you think you would take? I hope, and I'm pretty sure you would take the real $100 bill. But if you were raised believing that counterfeit was real and the real was counterfeit, which would you take? That's the problem with understanding of marriage, love, and long-term relationships. Some of us can be amazingly disoriented, believing that the counterfeit is real and the real is counterfeit. I would really like to invite you to consider the possibility that many of us don't know what true love really is. Buddha said that life equals suffering. But I'd like to suggest that perhaps there's also another truth, which is that love equals suffering. Arguably, one of the greatest acts of love represented in human history is Jesus walking the Via Dolorosa, the way of suffering. He exemplified this reality. He taught love rather than justice, and even chose to pay the price for the crimes committed against him. He actually cared enough about and for others that he was willing to die so that they could have a chance for a life. Jesus also taught that people change more by contrast than by conflict. And when betrayed, he responded with love, not justice or vengeance. Sacrificial love had such a powerful impact on those around him that they became willing to die for the sake of that same cause. So whether you believe that story is true or not, whether you believe that Jesus was the Son of God, as so many people on the planet do, I know that there are many of you out there that question that or don't believe. Let that story just be a story. Let it be a metaphor for what true love really can be and what it can look like. That it is sacrificial, it is suffering. I just would like for you to consider that before you completely dismiss it. In order for a husband to be reconciled to his wife who has betrayed him, he has to walk through the life-changing hurt inflicted by her betrayal and ultimately forgive her for her failure to love. That is, if they are ever to have a meaningful relationship again. There is no way she can ultimately bear the total awareness of her pain for her own moral failure and its effects upon her spouse. She can be remorseful for what she's done, and she can make efforts to ensure it doesn't happen again, but he's the one that has to courageously carry that pain. It's possible for the husband, out of a sense of vengeance and control and his own failure to love, and attempt to hurt her in return. And this would be the beginning of a new and separate offense, which will only exasperate the entire nightmare. And if that occurs, she'll then have to walk through the hurt inflicted by his failure to love and ultimately forgive his failure to maintain his vows of love. And hence a new cycle of hurt and pain arises. Surviving an affair then becomes that much harder for everyone. Love is the practice of screwing up and circling back and making amends and giving up the right to be right, and then trying again and again and again and again. That love isn't about trying to get the offending party to pay, though it would be understandable to want that. It's about a willingness to cover a debt that they could never pay back. That's not to say that the injuring party shouldn't do everything within their power to help the injured spouse heal. There's just no amount of penance for the injuring spouse can pay for their failure to love. They can, however, display brokenness and contrition and humility in their approach to recovery and possibly even moving forward. The unfaithful spouse can also take charge of their own recovery and their own mental health, which will speak volumes of empathy to the betrayed spouse. Without such action, a wayward spouse will be hard-pressed to make a case that they are truly sorry for their choices and the impact upon their lives. Please, please, please don't think that I'm saying that love recklessly reconciles with someone who isn't safe, is hard-hearted, or refuses to own what they've done. Remember, true love also, always acts in the best interest of another. And sometimes that might mean that you leave. Really plain and simple, as I can say it, love has boundaries. If one committing the offense is hard-hearted, unwilling to accept responsibility, and chooses not to commit and honor the relationship, then it wouldn't be in their best interest to reconcile and to allow them to continue acting in such a destructive manner. It's tragic when, after injuring others, that we fail to comprehend the impact of our actions on those people around us. And unless we understand and care about the costs our actions inflict on others, we'll never perceive the gift we receive from those who choose to love us rather than leave us. When a husband injures his wife through carelessness or selfishness, the person bearing the pain for his actions is his wife. Her choice to love and forgive comes at a great personal expense to her. She chooses to give him the gift of love rather than rejection. He witnesses her practice of love each time she chooses to stay with the pain that his actions inflict, just in order to be with him. There's no greater example of this truth than in couples where there is reconciliation following a betrayal. No one will ever convince me that there are no modern-day miracles. I see it every time I see a couple come back together after sometimes years of work, and I witness that miracle of reconciliation almost weekly. Truthfully, not all marriages are going to survive infidelity. That is just a fact. Not all unfaithful spouses are willing to own their failure, and not all betrayed spouses are able to overcome the devastation that they experience due to their mate's choices. Yet I can personally testify to the fact that the number of couples who find healing and restoration is absolutely staggering, despite the fact that you don't always hear about this in the news or in the media. And today, I'd really like to invite you, the betrayed spouses, a chance to heal from the devastation of your spouse's infidelity. Our Harboring Hope course is specifically for you. It's a safe place for those who have had to walk through their own road of forgiveness despite unthinkable pain, unspeakable hurt, and betrayal. I hope you'll give the course and its expert-driven curriculum a chance to provide you with a new hope, new courage, a new sense of love for yourself and for your spouse.